I'm a psychologist and I recently came across this article titled Men Are in Trouble, but Whose Fault Is It? Now, this article you have to pay for, but I was able to basically vicariously read it through this YouTuber here. So thank you, Arcad Daily, for summarizing the article. It's basically a surveyed 2,000 people, I think, and asked them their experiences in modern dating and their values and their expectations in either gender, men or women. And it's basically getting at like sort of one party says that one party expects too much, the other party says that the other party doesn't give enough and they're not emotionally available, and rah rah rah, and it's basically like a red pill versus radical feminism type article, right? Where it's like men are being pushed to the brink, they're being pushed to the edge of what they can provide for society, and it's just not enough, basically, is kind of the basic idea of the article. And you kind of see these articles and all that sort of stuff crop up a lot if you're really into this, like, red pill, woke, gender war dealio. If you spend a lot of time investing in it, you're probably all across the different arguments. So I wanted to throw in my 2 cents worth because, to be honest, I see it a lot, among other socio-political dilemmas. And the problem with a lot of these socio-political dilemmas is nobody really gives you like the truth, and that's a problem. So I'm gonna sort of summarize the truth for you at the moment. So I'm gonna open up Microsoft Paint here. I love Microsoft Paint. I use it with clients all the time to draw ideas on. So basically, we've got the red pill people over here, and we've got the radical feminists over here. Okay, so the red pill people believe that women expect too much. Women, let's go EXP, so I don't have to write it all out, and let's go arrow up. Women expect too much. So that's sort of one of their main arguments, that the modern woman, the Gen Z woman, expects too much. And it appears that the radical feminism ideology is that something like men don't have a high enough emotional intelligence. So men EQ low, basically, is the sort of the problem, or that make men solve problems with violence. Men equals is go violence or something, right? Or and you can probably list off a bunch of the different versions of events on both parties, right? Side note, by the way, EQ actually isn't a validated psychological concept, so but most people don't know that, but that's fine. Yeah, so IQ is a legitimate psychological concept, but EQ actually isn't yet. Some psychologists have come up with frameworks and all that sort of stuff, but actually it's not as validated and widely accepted as IQ is, the intelligence quotient. Anyway, so regardless of what camp you're on, or if you're just sort of a fence spectator like me, here's like the basic conclusion to this matter for anyone that just wants me to get to the point. So regardless of if you think that women expect too much, or that women, they sort of marry for money, so let's go, what's the dollar sign, is it like that or something? Anyway, women marry for money. Regardless of whether you believe that, or you're on the other side and men aren't sufficient enough, the sort of objective conclusion is as follows. Your chances of surviving natural selection are substantially reduced, basically, is the conclusion. So just think about that for a minute. If you strongly believe that men don't provide enough, or you strongly believe that women only marry for money or whatever, and you're very much in the sense of like, you'll just wait for the perfect person, you'll wait at the finish line until someone becomes emotionally mature or financially stable, or anything like that. If you're sort of just like waiting and for that Prince Charming or that sort of perfect scenario, basically your chances of surviving natural selection and your chances of just reproducing are substantially lowered. I can't say that your chances are near zero, because modern medicine is changing a lot of things with like IVF and the sort of surrogacy and all that sort of stuff, which will probably allow a lot of people to continue on. But the basic idea is your chances of surviving are lowered simply because you won't be able to have this. I don't want to say the word just in case YouTube flags the video and blacklists it and all that sort of stuff, but you need to do this in order to have a kid, so that your sort of genes move on, simply put. So if you don't sort of do that, if you don't sort of do this, your ability to survive natural selection and it's like an evolutionary dead end, really. So probably a lot of people might not see it this way. They might just see it as like, well, it's their fault, or it's that person's fault, or once we get to a certain point, people will be better this way and people will be better that way, and we just got to wait and everything will eventually pan out. And it's like, it probably won't. And the reason why it probably won't is because there are some skills that actually require two people, right? So in the modern economy, for example, you do actually need a two household income. Let's just go two income. So the idea of the man being the provider is an evolutionary dead end. It's not possible unless that individual makes in the 1% category, and really that's only possible if they have inheritance or very lucky. So the two household income approach to life is an evolutionary survival tactic that will likely allow you to live on. So you need two people for that. You also need two people to basically develop like relationship skills, right? So I'll just go relationship, right? So if you can find someone that allows you to develop relationship skills, that's another tick. You will survive, and your ancestry will live on, and all that sort of stuff. Well, I can't say definitively, but it's very likely, right? If you compromise, which is something a lot of people don't really seem to do, another tick in the book of survival, because you need two people to compromise, right? So I'm not sure if I can lift this for you more off the top of my head. Let me have a think. But you really got to like see it this way. Like, I think it's really important that if you're of the opinion of you're really on one camp or really on the other side, and you're really just like very rigid on this, then really try and see it from this high level perspective of like, do you really want to like not have kids, and do you really want to not like move forward? And in asking that, I imagine a lot of people might be saying something like, no, I don't want to have kids, the future's uncertain, AI is going to take over, or nuclear weapons or whatever, and you might be real rigid in that belief structure. And that's okay, but obviously like with AI, for example, we use that as a good example. We all thought that when AI came out, it would do all the boring jobs so that we could do all the fun jobs, but actually AI went straight for the jugular, went straight for all the creative jobs, right? So you can ultimately never really know what the future holds with AI, for example. So basically, if you to really survive natural selection is to really update your sort of viewpoint regarding relationships. So I'll just give everyone like a quick sort of rundown of like, let me just bring this down, a quick rundown of like the evolutionary traits that will likely allow you to survive the future moving forward. So let's go like, maybe I'll list off like a few actually that won't survive. So man equals provider. Okay, so this is an easy one. That's unlikely to, if you believe that, then that's unlikely to survive, because the economy is moving too rapidly. Inflation is too rapid. You need dual household income. So that's unlikely to survive. If you believe, to be honest, I actually can't think of any more off the top of my head at the moment. If you believe that can only date 6 foot tall, or like square jaw or something like that, the amount of people that meet this criteria is quite low. So once again, it's just simply put, it's just not a good dating strategy, because you're basically severely limiting your options in the dating pool. For example, I can't really think of any more at the moment off the top of my head, but maybe I'll list off some evolutionary traits that would be really useful for people to consider. And I recognize that this is tricky because it actually kind of requires cooperation from two people, and you're just probably one person watching this video. But like, things that will be really useful is like seeing the world in terms of two, like dual income, super useful, pooling your resources, super useful survival strategy, building together, compromise, collaboration. These are just some very almost primal in many ways structures to society and structures to the way that you should engage with that are just like very likely to actually another one's really useful is hopefully everyone can see this one. Just bring this down a bit more. Another one that's super useful is not waiting at the finish line, but dating early so that you develop relationship skills and build with someone whilst you are both like vulnerable. I can't spell it. Who cares? You're both vulnerable and still building. All right. So because a lot of people they seem to want to like delay and wait and all that sort of stuff, but the problem is that if you do that, you might end up you're basically limiting the amount of options you have in dating towards the end, because as you get older there'll be more and more people that get married and all that sort of stuff. So the longer you wait, the less people there are. But also you'll find that because relationship skills are kind of like require like two people, right, to develop. So it's kind of like hard to develop them if you're kind of just like waiting. And it also can sort of like build up your expectations beyond what is realistic for any one person to achieve. So I just thought I would quickly throw out this video for people to give just an alternative perspective to this dilemma, because basically this is a good strategy, 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 and this is a very good strategy to ensure the survival of your ancestry, because what's kind of happening is if you sort of subscribe to these ideologies, it's just like your chances of survival are just like quite low, because you're not like your chances of survival are probably fine, but your ability to sort of continue the ancestry just a bit like lowered. It's important to see the world, I think, this way if you want children and you want to like continue on, because otherwise it's just not really a viable evolutionary tactic to really divide the world into these two categories and fight, because IVF and that sort of stuff is kind of changing that a little bit, and maybe you'll be able to do this and survive and all that sort of stuff. But like, let's just assume that medicine isn't going to save us, and that you basically have to engage in sort of evolutionary tactics that are, adaptable and flexible. Then sort of random perspective that hopefully people resonate with. Probably not. Probably everyone just wants to fight and blame and all that sort of stuff. So. I guess not really the best evolutionary tactic to fight and blame, but if you do that, that's I guess we talk about probability a lot in psychology and statistics. So it's just like on the balance of probabilities, it's more statistically likely that the person just like will live a life of less satisfaction, really. Because relationships like the cornerstone of our species. So that's the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more.